Now, a Christian family have pulled both their children out of school and are threatening legal action in a row over transgender dressing. The two boys will now be homeschooled after the family took issue with the primary school allowing other boys to wear dresses. Joining us now to discuss it in more detail are the writer, I should say, an LGBT campaigner, Jane Fae, and Caroline Farrow, blogger for the Conservative Woman website. Hello to you both.
Hello. Good afternoon.
Thanks for joining us. Jane, to you first of all. I'm guessing you're not very impressed with this couple.
Actually, I spoke to the couple this morning. I feel very, very sorry for them. And I feel much crosser, much more angry at the organisation which has sort of pushed them into this, which is Christian Concern. I feel sorry for most of the people involved in this because the history is that the school had a trans child which was transitioning well, and this couple got on well with them. There's a second transgender child arrived this term and they've sort of thrown a fit, and they've been pushed, I think, or something by Christian Concern to start going public. But what they were saying is they don't want this to make a big fuss and they don't want it to go away. And I'm thinking, you're now on national news. What did you think was going to happen? So I feel very sorry for all of them.
Yes, I would agree with that, but I would also say that I support their right to take their child out of school. I'm not sure that suing the school is the constructive thing to do when you remember that being transgender is a protected characteristic under the law. So, and I think there's more to it simply than I object to boys wearing dresses. However, I think where they have a point is that when you go down this route in schools and with young children, you're saying to young children, you're asking them in effect to lie, to say that boys and girls are the same, that biological sex doesn't matter, and that it's very, that if you feel that you're a certain sex, then you can just change that. Sex is all about a feeling. That's not a scientific reality or a fact, and I think it's very, very harmful to force children into a position where they're having to lie, or where they've got a friend who was one sex and suddenly John is now Tessa, or Jill is now Bob. That's quite, I think, abusive to children, and I think you're setting children down a path whereby they're being taught something quite harmful about changing sex, and it's potentially setting them down a path where they become a bit frightened of puberty, and then potentially they go on puberty blockers, and then maybe synthetic hormones, maybe down the surgery route, and you're actually kind of setting them down on this path at a very young age. I think most 6-year-olds don't really understand what it means to be male and female.
That is not. And the name thing, of course, what was Pope Francis before he became Pope Francis?
Jorge Bergoglio.
I was so confused by that, and I was so upset. No, that's a little bit beneath me, but people change their names all the time, and some of this stuff about name changing. I mean, years and years back, I had a little bit of military experience, and one learned very quickly that you responded to certain people with "sir," and that's not how you normally address people. In other words, I think far too much is made of a pronoun thing. To be clear, in primary school, not a lot is being done. All that is happening is that the schools and the pupils are being asked to respect people's gender presentation. It's not saying that the school has to buy into this child is trans, or this child is that or is the other. It's saying, for the sake of the child, buy into it for now, whilst the specialists and the experts get on. And that has been Ofsted advice for about 10 years. Not only has it been Ofsted advice, but it actually is something that we need, not just for trans people, but for women particularly, because otherwise what you get are when girls get to 10 or 11, computing, that's not a girl's topic. IT, that's not a girl's topic, da-da-da-da-da. So you have to go down a very gendered pathway. What Ofsted have said about all genders is let people express their gender and don't let people bully them.
I quite agree with you about bullying, and I also agree with you. about sort of gender stereotypes. And I think some of the thinking behind some of this ideology sort of says, well, if a boy likes to wear a dress, then he must be a girl, or he must be, you know, going down that pathway. And I've seen parents question their children's gender identity because it seems to be very much in vogue at the moment. You know, somebody likes to do something a little bit different outside of a very tight sort of stereotype that, you know, a cliche that girls like pink, boys like blue. Okay, they might well be the other sex. And we're also seeing this, I think, as well, particularly with teen girls who feel that they may be lesbians, are being encouraged as a whole. Seems to be a whole movement on YouTube. You know, there's an explosion of teen girls presenting, saying, oh, actually, I think I'm transgender. I think I'm really a boy. And when in schools you are saying to children, actually, this person who you knew as a boy is now a girl, is sending them a very confusing message. It's saying, okay, boys can become girls. Now, this is I believe this is a really harmful ideology.
Okay.
An ideology. So, I mean, you don't see it as something that actually exists, but it's not possibly something which has roots within people. I'm not quite sure what you're getting at. I mean, well, you use the word ideology. In other words, it's like there's people out there going into schools and saying, do you want to be trans? Do you want to change your gender and so on?
I think the idea of being trans is being introduced to children, and I think that that's actually quite a harmful development. I think there are people, I think there are individuals, I think individuals like yourself, who in life they decide that actually the way I can live, the way I need to live, the way I need to express myself is like this. And I think tolerance, nobody has any problem with that. But actually you're imposing on a wider society this idea that actually boys can be girls, people can change their sex, and once someone changes their sex, they absolutely are that new sex, you know, and identical to women. And, you know, we can say, you and I, you know, I'm biologically a woman, and you know, I'm not being offensive here, I'm biologically a woman. You are socially and culturally a woman, but you weren't born a woman. But when people, what's happening at the moment is that when people are saying, okay, you know, people can change sex, we're seeing the erasure of female spaces, and that is something that is really bothering me as a woman and as a mother of 5 children.
Yeah, I'm sorry, you sort of went off at a certain tack there. I very much, well, the female spaces thing, clearly you're not accepting that a trans person is a particular gender. The thing which I would agree with you on wholeheartedly is that everything in medicine, in life, people take over the top and people get it wrong. And if there's any suggestion of somebody being pushed into transness, of course I would agree that that is wrong. Although I'm sort of slightly confused on this because you almost seem to be saying that, I'm not sure if you're talking for the Catholic Church, that the Catholic Church is happier with lesbians than with trans women.
I'm talking on behalf of myself.
This is a fascinating discussion, ladies, if I might say
I'm sorry,
so.
am I allowed to say lesbian?
No.
I'm interested.
I mean, I'm talking as myself. I'm talking as a blogger for the Conservative Woman, and I'm talking as a Catholic journalist. And my personal view is of toleration. Okay, and I have no problem with somebody like yourself who has gone through the whole grueling process to become a woman. I've got no problem with you, you know, using the appropriate loo that you think is right for you. Where I have got a problem is with so-called sort of gender fluidity, where people are saying, well, I'm non-gender binary, and today I'm going to identify as this, tomorrow I'm going to identify as that, accessing female spaces.
How do you feel about that, Jane?
But mostly they don't. That is a sort of...
No, but how do you feel about the people that do?
I'm not sure I've met people who do that. People... I can't talk for people who are gender fluid. What I can say is that this whole concept of, I wake up this morning and I'm going to be so-and-so, seems to be a myth that comes from a particular set of people.
Ladies, fascinating discussion. Sadly, we are out of time, but please do come back and we'll talk about it in more detail on another occasion. We really appreciate it. This morning I woke up and this is what I decided to do.